Not a single human interaction for 100 retainers in 1 mile. So it's much faster than we thought. Probably next month they're going to sign up 200 cases with the ENT. So adaptability is happening much faster than anybody thought.
And that's probably because most of the clients are like, people my age who are like, I don't want to talk to a person on the phone. I just want to text this little bot, tell me if I have a case for anything, even like I mean, this is going to sound really funny, but if I have to make a doctor's appointment, I'm like, oh, I have to be on the phone with someone, talk to someone, and it gets annoying. And like, if you've got an AI intake system or an AI app that just collects all that data from me, I don't have to talk to anybody, and I just click like 8 buttons and it's there.
Hello, everyone. This is Hamid Kohan, president of LegalSolve. Very happy to have this podcast with two of the partners. Amitai here from lawpractice.ai.
Hi, I'm Amitai. I'm the CTO of Practice AI, and we're here with a special guest, Kenny.
Hey, what up, everybody? I'm Kenny Eliason, founder and CEO of Quilia. We're an app for personal injury clients.
Wonderful. Well, very nice to have you here today. We have an interesting topic today, which has been interesting for a bit between all the publicities and all the conferences and so forth. And that's the impact of the AI in the legal industry. And in your case, most relevant is the personal injury segment, when the impact of the AI and automations and mobile apps and variety of different technology. So I'm going to ask you to briefly describe what your technology and your company does, so for the audience to understand where you come from.
For sure, yeah. So I love AI. We were building this before ChatGPT hit the scene, and so we were really excited when AI kind of hit mainstream. I'm a longtime tech guy, so I did machine learning and all that stuff long time ago before it was mainstream. So when we were putting together our company, we didn't have that grandiose AI vision, but what we really focused on more than anything was helping the clients at the law firm do their job better. And what evolves out of that when it comes to AI is we are the data layer that's not being captured right now when it comes to client cases, which is really, really cool, because with all the AI that comes out, you know how it is, every few months, ChatGPT 4.0.201 plus rolls out, and now 1,000 companies get gobbled up by that new rollout.
Right.
And so the one thing that never changes with AI, the constant for AI, is the data layer. And so we're excited to be a part of that data layer that's just not being consumed otherwise right now.
Great terminology, the data layer. We always call it the bunch of other data that nobody's collected. Data layer. Yeah. Great. Thank you for that. And Amitai from Law Practice AI.
So we make AI for law firms, so we might not be in the data layer necessarily. We're in the layer just above that. And what we do is we really specialize in taking that data, synthesizing it into summaries, or creating demand letters from that, so that the attorneys can do their job and actually take it to litigation or wherever it needs to go.
Which I think is super cool, because what you guys are working on is kind of where our data flows up through. So when you have any case data related to a law firm, right now, pretend our app's not even in the law firm, which I don't even necessarily care about it for this example, but you just have all this data that's being consumed by the law firms, and then you use cool tools like yours with the AI that comes on top. And now it doesn't matter how much data you have. Before, we used to have to require people to sift through that and create demand letters.
Right.
I worked at a law firm for a long time. We had our demand lady. She was fantastic, Lisa, and she would comb over every detail in the case. She'd read every page of the medical file. She'd read every note that was ever written, and then she'd come up with this beautiful demand, and we make money off of it. But now, that person, sadly, their job is being replaced by the AI, but also the amount of data we can put into that person is now even higher, where it took Lisa a week to comb through all of the data that was in that file. Now we can put even more data in that file. And of course, like AI can really just pull out the good stuff. It's really, really cool.
The thing that's happening with the AI and the data is that first of all, it's scaring the heck out of a lot of attorneys. All the compliance issues, privacy issues and securities and so forth. So I always hear the first thing they say is it safe?
Yeah.
It's almost like you're telling him to jump off the building. And it's like, it's safe. Yeah, we catch you.
Right.
We make sure you don't hit the ground. So that's always been the notion. The second thing is that they never knew that the data is actually valuable. I worked with firms like 7-8 years ago who they basically archived all of their data into a white storage boxes and put it in a storage facility.
Those U.S. postal boxes that everybody has.
Keep them by law for 7 years.
Yeah.
And they always say, this is all useless stuff that I have to hold because I clearly need to hold. And now, even for the contact information that is in those boxes, they didn't even see the need of those contact information for marketing, for client retention, and so forth. So I was always been trying to make a point with them that the data is really valuable. You can't just box it up and put it into storage facility.
What I don't think a lot of them realize is the insurance companies have been using big data for decades now.
Very quiet.
Colossus, yes, exactly. But very quietly, they had a tool called Colossus for a long time. It wasn't AI, but it was predictive, and it would take in the data, compare it to all the other data in their files, and then spit out numbers.
Oh yeah.
And so without using your own data, you're at a handicap already against the insurance company. It's a gold mine. There's a treasure trove of information inside these cases.
Absolutely.
So what would you categorize as being areas to watch out for? An average attorney, especially let's say personal injury, how do they should get into this AI? How do they adopt it? How do they use it for their practice? Is it going to save them money? Is it going to make them more money? What's the angle with that?
So there's a lot of different layers to that, obviously. But you go to these conferences now. I'm headed to one today, and it's like everybody slapped AI onto their backdrops. Everybody's AI, which over the past year and a half that I've been going to conferences, that number's gone up greatly. And so I think with that same technology adoption where everybody's just AI now, the attorneys are a little bit laggard, but they are coming along with the ride and saying, okay, now they're kind of getting more comfortable with the idea of putting AI in their practice. And I think it starts off because probably somebody introduced them to ChatGPT and they've been using that at home for something.
Right.
Now they see the benefits of it in their home life. And now they say, well, how can I apply this to my work life? And is there a way that I can use my data or my information that I have in my case to maybe generate a letter that I want to write quicker? Everybody's familiar with merge docs. They've been doing that forever. Merge docs are all cookie cutter and the same across everyone. Well, maybe I can take that same merge doc and make it a little bit better. And so it's kind of a stepping stone process. But as everything becomes more involved with the AI, I think the attorneys are starting to catch up now and say, you know what? It's kind of like what happened during COVID with technology and law in general. Like these law firms are all very, very antiquated. COVID comes along, pushes everybody into texting and Zoom and everything else where they had to digitize their firms.
Right.
And that same momentum now that pushed them into that is now we're riding those coattails into the AI revolution too, and these attorneys are starting to adopt it.
We got the same hit with LegalSoft. LegalSoft work with about 1,000 law firms, and we have about 3,000 of our agents places in the firms. And when I started up telling people that you need virtual staff, and they were like freaked out. It's like, what do you mean virtual?
Not in my office?
Like 20 miles away from me.
Yeah.
They're
Work
outside of
downtown.
LA?
Yeah.
Right. I said, no, we're more like South America. Oh my God, no, I can never do that. I mean, how would I trust somebody over there to handle my cases here with all the confidentiality and the compliances and so forth? And even nuts, we, have 3,000 of them now placed in the past 4 or 5 years. So there was a migration.
Yeah.
Now it's funny that they're coming back and says, so is AI going to replace some of my virtual staff? Like, we have 1,000 intake staff.
Yeah.
And we know the AI intake is going to come and take over. So our strategy pivoted into, okay, so we're going to equip our virtual staff with the AI to become a lot more effective and efficient.
Right.
So yes, you basically get more value out of it. So it's a continuously evolving and changing, and attorney is pretty much like, oh, so what's next? I mean, it's constantly, you told me that I have to let go of my people and hire a bunch of people like in 7 different countries. Okay, fine, that worked. How are we going to do with AI? So we already pivoted in that direction, equipped with the tools like the law practice AI. We're training them to do document summaries, do intake, do demands, because they provide the tool, we provide the bodies, and combined, they help the law firm.
Yeah.
So that's been our experience. Amitai, what do you think talking to the attorneys who actually use your tools?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed some of the hesitancy to like move in because they're like, oh my God, this thing generates a demand. I can't be using that. It's gonna do what I do. And a lot of the time you have to tell them this is like actually an insane tool. One of the biggest things that I've been showing them is that the amount of data I'm able to pipe into this machine is just unparalleled. Some of the things that attorneys have been asking, they're like, well, we make these clients of ours do these pain regimens every day of like, well, how's your pain today? How's your pain today? And at the end, you end up with like 100 papers of how their pain was today. And like, if a person's going through that, they're going to read like 50 of them and just say, I read the other 50 and like, be like, I'm done. But this machine will actually read all 100 of them, figure out the highlights. So it's not like a replacement. It's really just a booster for your productivity. And I think that's where even your system comes in.
You nailed it on the head. I mean, we actually have a pain tracking app.
Oh, wow.
So the 100 things are just done in our app and now feeds right into the case management system.
Beautiful.
But you brought up a bunch of different cool points. Law firms, they're worried about what the AI future holds more than anything. When we were doing our product discovery for forever, I interviewed like 70 different attorneys, tried to figure out what was the good and bad of being a lawyer and what products did they want. I went through 7 different ideas, finally got to the one we were on. But through that process, I dialed in on a few different things. One, they don't like it when their job gets replaced, which is what you're fronting with the DAT problem. Like we had one thing that was a settlement calculation tool. It was something I did 20 years ago at the law firm. And now we were going to digitize it. And I showed a couple guys and they're like, this is dope. It works great. But then what do I do? I wouldn't pay for that. And so there's that replacement conundrum that they're worried about. But my
It's the same thing in the virtual staffing.
yeah,
Oh, you're hiring them at 2,000 a pop and you're paying me 9,000. So, oh my God, it basically is a 1-to-4 ratio.
you're winning way more than I am. Yeah. My favorite example, the one I use it all the time, is the Marvel superhero Iron Man, right? He's just a normal dude. He's a human without any super special abilities. But what? He uses technology to be a superhero. And it's like, if we use the technology that's around us in the right way, then it doesn't timid us. It makes us even better. So now it's us. And so these attorneys, man, that adopt it and do stuff like what you guys are using, that is where they will quickly outpace their competitors because the competitors will be in the mud and they'll be jumping leaps and bounds over them. And I think we'll see a big separator over the next 5 years, obviously, in that, where the tech firms that are pushing the AI envelope will exceed all expectations and the others will be left.
Absolutely.
Percent of all the conferences you go to the legal sector is all about AI anyway. Oh, but when they asking me if I'm coming to as a speaker to the conference and say, what's your topic? I hope it's AI. You know, it's like, okay, I'll talk about it. Like they're just driving it down. But to that point of what Amitai said about the demand writing and the demand writers and job replacements, when I was doing the consulting with a PI firm, I asked him, so who's your demand writer? He says, well, Julie is our demand writer. How much experience she has? She must have done at least 500 demands already. And she's really good. And I would turn into that and say, well, this practice AI done about 50,000.
Yeah, right.
Whose demand writer is smarter? His one has done 50,000, yours done 500. Yeah. Which one do you want to bet on?
Totally, man.
And back to what you were saying about the whole Iron Man esque, like one of the people I was talking to the other week, she'd come to us, she's a demand writer. And she's like, look, I have a backlog of like 50 demands. And I'm sure this happens in other areas as well, where they've just got a backlog of X and they need to get it done. And even that person's like, well, I'm a little hesitant because if I use this, then, you know, what'll happen? And we gave it to them, onboarded them, everything, generated all 50 demands in like 45 minutes, moved about their day. And now every time they reach a backlog, this is their get out of jail free card. And it's like, you know, if you're an attorney, this is one of the things you want in your firm because you've got, you know, they've got a get out of jail free card. You need one too, or you're not going to pass co and collect 200.
I have another interesting story about this demand writing on the medical record summaries.
Yeah.
So when I was at this pretty large PI firm, and the conference rooms were mostly occupied with somebody sitting there with a whole bunch of paper on the conference room. So we were going to use the conference room. It was like, shoot, she's just one person sitting there with tons of paper on the... And I didn't know what you were doing. Like, I thought you were doing discovery or something. But all of them were doing medical record summaries. So they're laying down all this medical... And they go around the table and just put them together and organize them and create sort of a chronology. And
I mean, and they were experts. Like, how cool that they were able to do that.
I know. And they were so in the room for the whole day to do the medical summary work. And I just compared that to now. It's just basically put it into this place and then 2 minutes later, you get the whole summary. It's incredible. But it's an adoption period. And not everybody's going to see those visions. Yeah. This is where is it going?
I mean, the bold prediction of what a law firm looks like in the future. And I think some of the market factors will play out over time where fees may get squished or, you know, the gold standard of a 33% fee is no longer attainable. Maybe, I don't know, whatever it might be. It'll push law firms to be more efficient. So they'll actually operate with fewer people, but they'll actually be able to handle a larger clientele. And so tools like ours, tools like yours, like ours is helping replace the day-to-day annoying part of handling clients. So
yes,
calls and phone calls and information gathering. where that can be done by a computer, but it frees up your time to do the more important stuff, like building a relationship, asking how they're doing, how they're feeling, how's their how's their birthday, all those important questions that AI is not necessarily going to be good at.
The human aspect.
But a human aspect is
Yes.
Yeah, so it's to reducing the time and the cost, because the both are pretty much a bottleneck for most of the firms.
right.
Is that the case is supposed to be settled within 4 months. It takes 8 months because they haven't done the medical summaries enough. They have backlog of the demands. There's just the whole process drags out.
Yep.
Okay, great. So what other aspect of the AI you think going to be? Now, we talked about the document summaries, demands, and data collections, and so forth. What other areas should the attorneys know about that this AI is going to change their practice, basically? So because we went from a traditional PI firm that is all staffed up, from the receptionist all the way to the owners, and then we went to the hybrid, which was virtual and some in-house staff. Now the third piece of the pie comes in, that is the AI, virtual and in-house. So where do you see the next biggest impact of the AI in the law practice?
I think one of the things it's getting really good at recently has been reasoning. And it's like in the beginning, if you use like ChatGPT 3.5, it was like horrible at reasoning. It couldn't come up with it come up with coherent sentences, but if you asked it to do any thinking, it was like horrible. And now with models like O3 Mini High that's dropped, and I believe Claude has or Anthropic has their own version of Claude that does something similar. Those have expanded greatly, and their reasoning has gotten better, and also their research has gotten better. You can prompt these things, and these are just the standard AI that is available to the public. There's other ones behind the scenes that I'm sure everybody's probably aware of somehow, but these things do crazy research where they're able to pull up 7-8 scholarly articles, 10 different journals, all this other stuff, synthesize all that data and present it to you, which I think is going to be crazy in a discovery perspective. It's gonna absolutely impact all the sit with 8 books and do your research, kind of like how Google did with web search.
The guys that are there's a lot of concerns about that world, and rightfully in law, because you file a motion that has some miscited information in there, then that's going to be a problem. So it's a little hesitant right now, but I see where you're going.
Well, can I show that our attorneys or paralegals didn't make the same mistake?
It's true.
I know.
Sometimes that's why the AI picked it up. Is
I think that I makes a mistake. Well, I've been working in the firm. It's half of the firm makes mistakes. All the law. The reason, by the way, I got actually into the law because I happened to be one of my friends who had a case, and the firm screwed it up and they missed the statute. So the case went nothing, and they got cited and they were afraid. And he's like, talk about a mistake. You missed the statute, okay? The worst of it. Missed the statute. It's as simple as calendar. But then when they're talking about AI makes mistakes. Oh no, every law firm staff is perfect with 0 errors, 0 mistakes. Nothing ever happens.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a misnomer that you can be perfect just without AI too. Yeah, for sure. My big thing, and maybe you guys have opinions on this, the thing that I see in what we do the most, we deal with clients the most, and since you guys aren't necessarily law, this is maybe a good question for you. We get the feedback lots of times that clients aren't smart enough to use technology. And they don't say those words smart, but that's what they imply. What have you guys seen as far as adoption goes? Or is there any feedback you guys get when it comes to adopting the technology?
Huge thing. So a lot of times when even building Practice AI's platform, certain things are just not easy to use. And if you're moving from, you wrote this in Microsoft Word and now you're on a platform, you got to click buttons to use an AI. It's a bit difficult. And I honestly, Hamid has probably even brought this up to me, is that you got to go complete Apple mentality of just make everything as simple as possible, so that, even if there's 5 buttons on the screen, make it 1. If there's 2 places to put text, make it 1. And try to offload as much of the work and silo it so that everybody can easily access it. And it's not even because they're not smart enough. It's just because anybody using a new tool is going to have some hard times with it.
Yeah. And this is a challenge of the technology. I lived in Silicon Valley for 20 years. So I had the pleasure of even meeting the Steve Jobs for a few times. And pretty radical, smart guy. But he has this terminology whenever he wanted to create an iPhone, iPad, anything, he's always came to the development and says it needs to be idiot proof. Because if we come in that level, you can't miss a target because you're just going it from bottom. So we're always trying to do in everything that we do is visual staffing management, practice AI solutions, and so forth, is to make it extremely user friendly.
Yeah.
And not let sort of a development making it complicated or complex, where you have the amazing stuff but nobody can use it.
Yeah, for these law firms, I think their fear from people not using it is based in the fact that they've had past bad experiences. For example, the classic one we get all the time, I can't even get my clients to use DocuSign. They can't even sign a paper on their computer or on their phone. It's like, well, maybe that's not a very intuitive interface for whatever reason, or maybe whatever other technology you're using isn't intuitive enough. But as a species, humans, everybody's got smartphones in their pockets now. Everybody knows how to click buttons if it's easy enough, that we're capable of doing that now. And as long as the builders are making it simple and idiot-proof like they should be, then people will use technology. It's not because they're dumb. The bad technology examples are because of the bad technology, not because of the people.
Yeah, 100%.
I got kids at home, well, not so much of a kid 12 finishing law school, but they are much easier for them to use the technology than the non-technology stuff. Or talking to people live, they say, oh shit, I got somebody on the phone. It's like, what do I do? We used to just using the technology. Now I actually have to talk to somebody. I mean, it's like they usually get out of the conversation and go back online and try to finish it online. So that's happening. And to the fact that I'm working with a firm who last month, they signed up, retained completely 100 clients in 1 month, 100% on the AI intake.
No, that's awesome.
Not a single human interaction for 100 retainers in 1 month.
Wow.
So it's much faster than we thought they can be done or they can be done.
Right.
It's probably next month they're going to sign up 200 cases with the intake. So adaptability is happening much faster than anybody thought.
And that's probably because most of the clients are like, people my age who are like, I don't want to talk to a person on the phone. I just want to text this little bot, tell me if I have a case, or for anything even. Like if I mean, this is going to sound really funny, but if I have to make a doctor's appointment, I'm like, oh, I have to be on the phone with someone, talk to someone, and it gets annoying. And like, if you've got an AI intake system or an AI app that just collects all that data from me, I don't have to talk to anybody, and I just click like 8 buttons and it's there. It's my personal dream, but I'm sure there's a lot of other people my age who are also thinking it's their dream as well.
I think I'm probably right in the middle of both of you. I'm an old millennial, so like I grew up in a world where we played outside, but it also was super techy at the early stage, and so I actually wrote a blog post like 15 years ago that says, stop calling people, it's rude. Like just text me. Like, 99% of things can be solved on a text, right? Like, so anyway, the point being, technology is an enabler of great success, and it saves time, it saves effort. Most of the time with clients, they're busy. Like, we have lives. I get in a car accident, especially if it's not my fault. I had things planned already, going to appointments and doing all that other stuff that I got to do now on top of it is a headache, and it takes me out of my schedule. Not because I don't want to do it, but just because I got other things to do. And so making it easy for them to share that information, making it easy for them to help the attorneys make a good case is like the name of the game, and which plays into what you guys are doing, building the demands out and everything else. So that was just interesting. And clients are so important. They're the lifeblood of every personal injury case. And we make it difficult for them currently for them to participate on their cases, and we need to make it easier so that they can have more.
Does your solution also provide the cases status to the client?
Yeah. So it pulls back from the case management software and tells you the client. How's that?
That's usually the biggest issue with the
so
clients. They want to know what's going on.
Number one bar complaint is what's going on with my case. Right? They're not communicated enough. And what's interesting about that, though, is case phases, I guess we call them, or case phases, for lack of a better term, only change every couple months.
Right.
Like if you go into treatment phase and you're in that one for 9 months, and then you go into the demand phase, and that one's a shorter one, and it gets shorter every day with you guys. And so there's these long-term phases. It's what happens in between the phases that's even more important. And so while, we do that, like other companies out there do, we'll send the update to the client, tell them what's going on.
They just want to get a call. They don't really know or understand or care about how much of a movement the case had.
Right.
They just want to know that you haven't forgotten about it.
Yeah.
So there's this idea that we're playing with. We jokingly call it an anti-portal. Client portals, historically, require a couple different things. They require, one, that they be turned on. Two, that law firm people put information into the portal.
Yes.
If you don't put information in the portal, now you've pissed off the client, because they're coming back to that portal all the time saying, well, nothing changed. Now caused more harm than good. You turned it on, and that's cool, but now you're not putting anything in it. And the reason they don't put anything in it is sometimes just like natural human stuff where
It's just a lot of work.
it's a lot of work, or they're worried about what they're putting in there. Maybe they put the wrong thing in there. They don't want the wrong thing to show up, so they just avoid it entirely. So most portals fall flat for that reason. And we joke that we're the anti-portal because what we've done is said, you know what? I don't need information from the law firm at all, really. I could do without those case phase updates because what we do is automate the daily, weekly. So how did your appointment go? How's your pain today? How's a case journal? Did you get your property damage fixed? It's all of these like automated prompts that they need to be putting into their case file anyways, that gives them the idea that the law firm is reaching out to them, that they're participating on their case every day without the law firm ever having to pick up a phone. So it gives them this like constant, we're making them think it's a portal, but really we're just giving them homework and they willingly participate because it makes it so easy.
You gamified it, which is actually really cool that you like kind of flipped the paradigm and made it a game for the client to be like, oh, they're checking in on my status. Like that's so sweet of them kind of thing. Whereas, before it was probably a nightmare to get there on the phone.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's the law firm work, 9 to 5. Right. How hard is it to communicate with your attorney when you're at work all day? It's very hard. But when you're sitting on your couch at night, finally relaxing, you click, send. And now you've updated your case. Everything's great.
I want to ask the $1 million question that usually the attorney would ask. I hear all this stuff about all this AI doing all this stuff from my firm, but I can pretty much just stay home, not even go to work and get my cases done. What the AI can do.
Yeah. For me, across the board, and I tell everybody this because it's the most important part of every law firm. It's what makes you different than your competitor. It's your customer support. So you as a human Amitai over here, he's going to get along with and help a certain demographic of people. And they're going to like him and they're going to refer to him because he's going to be helpful and he's going to really jibe well. That's what makes him different than your law firm and my law firm, because the people that work there. And so if we can get rid of all the homework stuff that's basically the same across every law firm, then we can really magnify our strengths as humans and what we're good at, what we're better at, and
Relationship.
and build the relationships like we should push. And so you end up hiring fewer people because you don't need the paper pushers anymore. You need really good customer service people that are going to help make your firm stand out.
You know who succeeded the most about this thing? Pharmaceutical. Pharmaceutical sending all this well-dressed, well-mannered, professional, into the offices. This is offices. Yeah, he didn't know much about medical, just about pharmacy. They had life. The whole thing that they did, going from doctor to doctor to doctor, it's like, I'm here if you ever need anything. I can help you. Here's some free samples. Here's a lunch for your staff. And they're basically, and this is like from 50 years ago, to do that, appointable agents for the most famous relationship building folks. And that's how the pharmaceuticals got so big, because they had such a tight relationship with the physicians that nobody could break and nobody could penetrate, because it says, where's my agent? I want to talk to her.
Right.
Wow.
I don't even know what company.
It is, no, they didn't know what kind of a pharmacy or what kind of but they just know Jenny from this place that comes once a month with lunch with my staff and brings me goodies.
Which is what these law firms do. Like when I think of referrals, and when I worked at the firm, when I work with firms currently, usually it's a referral to the person that was handling the case. But I really enjoyed working with me. Like it was great. The whole experience from start to finish was great. Everybody should go work with me. But you're just a case manager at a law firm. So like, what big deal is that? But that's where the secret sauce between firm to firm comes.
That's not a relation.
Personal relation.
And we even see it on our end too. Like it can generate a demand, it can intake your client, but when you start negotiating with an adjuster about what is this actually worth in personal injury, at least, or even in other fields, when you start just, talking to a judge, we're not going to bring a robot to sit there in front of the judge and be like, Your Honor, that's not gonna work out. And that's where you come as a person. Like at the end of the day, if you're an attorney, you're kind of in sales in that way. You're selling your case to this person, and that's where you differ, because everybody has a different style of how they want to do it. Some people want to exactly, and the human elements there too, because at the end of the day, at least in personal injury, someone got hurt, and you're trying to get them like justice. And by like talking to someone on the phone, you're bringing the human element of like, yeah, I know your AI is giving you these numbers and whatever, but like my client hasn't like walked in 2 weeks. Like that's, you're human.
What AI can do in that situation is, back to your original story, is there's a billion data points across the case. As a human, I will never be able to go over the billion data points and find the good argument.
Of course.
So I say, hey, AI, find me where my case is the strongest. And it says right here, 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 and here. And then it pulls out holy cow, there was a 2-week period where my client couldn't log. I'm going to ring that up in my case.
We actually added that exact strengths and weaknesses thing on each case, we like summarize your strengths of your case exactly like you just mentioned. And like, you know, I don't put that in the demand. I can't like put a strengths and weaknesses table in a demand, but you know, you feed it back to the attorney, and that's where that attorney comes in of like, my client hasn't walked in 2 weeks.
Or do attorneys say, what should I do when usual step and AI going to replace all of my admin operation and so forth? I have a thing for them. Building the relationships, obviously. Being a human, alignment. Don't try to, be a human collecting papers. As AI is going to collect the documents if you need to. And then learn how to do effective prepared mediations, arbitrations, right? Going in front of a judge, going in front of a jury, and doing the negotiations and settlements.
Yeah, the litigators are going to win.
Do that. This is where you should spend your time. This is where you should focus. It's very difficult to replace any of that part. And trying that, instead of fighting to do a $10 an hour job as an attorney, go upgrade yourself to do a $10,000 an hour job. And let the system and virtual staffing and AI and apps and everything take over the rest of the stuff. So instead of trying to fight that battle, just upgrade. Go get a PhD, basically. Don't worry about the high school stuff. The high school will be taken care of. You go get your PhD. Because that's what we need. We need all of those.
NASA used to have people who were like called computers that would just do addition, subtraction, crazy multiplication. All those people didn't just like, lose their jobs. They became, astrophysicists. They became programmers. They became all this. Go upgrade yourself.
Great. I think we can be talking about this thing for a very long time. Great conversation. Hopefully we get to do it the next episode with...
I'm driving back through in 3 days. Meet you here.
Yeah. Thanks, Amitai. Thanks, Kenny. It's nice you guys to be here. Kenny, thanks for joining us today. It was great to have you. And I'm sure people have a lot more questions from you. Where would they find you?
And I'm on all the networks, all the things. So LinkedIn's probably my favorite one. If you go on LinkedIn, look me up, Kenny Eliason, Eliason. Our app is Quillia, Quillia, like a quill, just like our logo. And we are at Quillia.com. So come find me. I'll be at all the conferences too, so we're around.
Wonderful. Amitai, same with you. Thanks for joining us. Again, with AI, we probably can have hours of conversations and not even touch the surface. So if people have questions or want to talk to you, where do they find you?
They can find us at lawpractice.ai. We're pretty much also at all the conferences. So you'll see both Kay and myself and the rest of my team there as well. So